During the transition to death, the brain exhibits a decline in electrical activity. During this process, electrical activity decreases until it reaches what is called an isoelectric state, which is a complete loss of cortical activity, which can ultimately lead to brain death. And fascinatingly, scientists and doctors have reported that in the minutes before and after death, some brains exhibit sudden and quick bursts of electrical activity. These bursts are therefore called end-of-life electrical surges, and consequently many scientists theorize that these surges generate the phenomena of near-death experiences. Therefore, this video is all about these fascinating electrical surges, and how they may be generating near-death experiences in our final moments. It is estimated that around 20% of people who have come close to death have reported having a near-death experience, or NDE. Common features of NDEs include sensations of leaving the body, visions of being in a dark tunnel or bright light, as well as vivid memory flashbacks in a state of profound peace. In humans, our understanding of the brain's activity during this transition to death comes primarily from medical settings, as hospitals monitor the electrical activity occurring within patients' brains as part of end-of-life care protocol within intensive care units, as well as during operations by anesthesiologists, in order to monitor unconsciousness and sedation. One way that this monitoring is achieved is via electroencephalography, or EEG, which involves electrodes being placed on the scalp in order to measure electrical activity that is being generated by the cerebral cortex, in other words, by the outer surface of your brain. However, in more recent years, this electrical activity has also been measured using other neuromonitoring devices, such as the bispectral index monitoring system or the SedLine monitoring system, which processes EEG signals in real time and produces a more simplified readout of the brain's electrical activity. Consequently, these devices have enabled the brain's activity to be observed and captured during the transition to death, during the periods before and after death, as well as when a patient's brain seemingly comes back to life. Accordingly, it is well known that during the event of cardiac arrest, in which the heart stops beating and blood flow to the brain is cut off, that this generates a state of isoelectricity within the patient's brain. This isoelectric state features cortical neurons which are no longer active, and which manifests itself as a flatlined EEG. However, during this isoelectric or flatline state, many doctors have reported that within a subset of patients within their care, that sudden and strange bursts of electrical activity have been observed within the patient's brains during the periods before and after their hearts have stopped beating. Originally, however, these strange end-of-life electrical surges were totally dismissed, out of a belief that they were just artifacts. And it wasn't until the year of 2009 that a doctor named Lakmir Chawla decided to investigate the electrical bursts within a case series of critically ill patients who died after life support was switched off. Here, all 7 of these patients experienced a loss of blood pressure followed by a decline in brain activity, before finally exhibiting a short-lived spike in activity, which approached levels that are normally found within people who are conscious. And fascinatingly, these results also mirror what is seen within animal experiments as well. And in a subsequent assessment written by Dr. Chawla, it was reported that these end-of-life electrical surges are actually rather common in patients who die in intensive care units. These findings were also corroborated within a different report by Dr. David Arjong, who reported that these spikes range in duration between 30 seconds to a few minutes before the signal finally falls to zero. In general, these end-of-life electrical surges are found to occur between 3 to 6 minutes after the complete loss of heart function, and they last from around 15 to 240 seconds, so up to around 4 minutes. But what exactly are these electrical surges? End-of-life electrical surges are known to be gamma brainwaves, and the fact that they are gamma brainwaves is particularly revealing in terms of their potential ability to generate the near-death experience. Here, brainwaves in general are rhythmic patterns of electrical activity that are generated by millions of neurons, which are becoming activated at the same time. This simultaneous activation of neurons across the brain means that they are communicating with each other under what is called the communication through coherence hypothesis. When this communication across the brain is particularly strong, and therefore when it involves particularly high numbers of neurons talking with each other, the brainwave frequency that is detected by EEG therefore becomes elevated as well, and manifests at around 30 to 100 Hz in the case of low gamma, to around 200 Hz in the case of high gamma. And what is interesting is that gamma is the highest brainwave frequency range of the human brain, and it is therefore thought to generate consciousness, as well as cognitive functions like memory and attention. This is because gamma brainwaves proliferate while you are awake, while in contrast brainwaves that are slower and which therefore reflect reduced neuronal communication are instead observed during unconscious states such as non-dreaming stages of sleep, as well as during deep coma. The exception to this observation occurs during dreaming, which is a paradoxical sleep state that is associated with increased consciousness, as well as complex hallucinations, and fascinatingly, the re-emergence of gamma activity, which can be just as strong as that which occurs while you are awake. Consequently, it appears that these gamma waves may therefore be responsible for generating the near-death experience, and suggests that this phenomena is a particularly amazing kind of hallucination, one that is produced under highly physiologically stressful circumstances. But what is this theory actually called? The theory is called the gamma oscillation model, and it was proposed by Dr. George Mashaw in 2013. This has been called a landmark discovery by scientists, and gamma not only plays a critical role within consciousness, but it is also critical for our ability to remember our memories. Consequently, when gamma waves appear during our sleep, traces of memories become reactivated and recombined in order to generate our dreams. Here, dreams are therefore hallucinations, and many researchers have argued that they have evolved so that we are able to simulate and rehearse potential events as a kind of virtual reality simulator. This is called the simulation theory of dreaming, and within the context of near-death experiences, it is possible that the experience of losing consciousness as a result of a medical event or attack may therefore prime the brain to rehearse what it expects to experience, including the process of dying and whatever may occur after death. What is also fascinating about this is that different parts of the brain die at different rates, such that cortical areas die first and brainstem regions die later. These differences in brain region survival times may be key to understanding the neural underpinnings of near-death experiences, but you can find out more about that in future videos.